What's going on, everyone? Hunter with Rebel Outdoors, and today we're going to be building my hunting arrow for 2025. This guy right here is basically the arrow that I've been shooting pretty much all year since they came out, and that is the Easton 5.0 and a 300 spine. And I've really been liking this combination right here, so I think I'm going to run it. I have my Nevada Archery elk hunt coming up here in like a month and a half. It'll be here before you know it, and then after that we'll be getting into whitetail season, where I will be hunting a lot on my own property here, so I'm pretty stoked about that. Normally the arrows that I have for just practicing, tack, 3D courses, things like that are the non-match grade models, but what I decided to do here was get a brand new pack of the match grades I'm going to build out and only be shooting for hunting season. Now, you don't really need to have a dozen. What I think I'm going to do, because I'm starting to run low on my other ones and we have a tack event next week, I'll probably end up taking like maybe 4 from this and doing them how I have my other ones, because with my current quiver setup, I know it's a 5 quiver, but I only have 4 that I carry on me, so that way I should have more than enough, hopefully, for a successful hunting season. Alright, so now I'm going to show you guys kind of all the componentry we're going to be using here. Like I mentioned earlier, we have the Easton 5.0 in a 300 spine match grade. Now these do come with that little hit insert. I've never ran them. What I have been using is these number 2 steel half outs. These weigh about 50 grains each. The vanes that I've been running are these DCA Customs Mini Saber. Really been liking these things. I decided to do white for hunting season, and then what I might end up doing for winter specific arrows, at least when it snows, is putting 2 whites and a red on there, because I do still have a bunch of reds that I can use if need be. Of course, we got our Arizona Easy Jig in a max left helical, and the broadheads that we'll be shooting this year are going to be the Sever Titanium. Now these are the 1.5 inches, which I'll be using for whitetail. I do have some of the new 2 inches coming that I'll be using for elk. And the piece de resistance is the Mod Saw. First, what I'm looking to do, because I know other people have used this since I have last, is I'm just going to check with one of my arrows, making sure there is some measurements on here, and I know my arrows are 28 inches. So if I set it on 28, tighten this guy down here, knock against that, and that looks like our measurement right there. One thing that's super cool about the Mod Saw is on the other side, you can actually sand your arrows. That way you make sure you got a nice flat end. One thing I never realized that I should have thought about is if you slide this piece, because everything's, you know, modular in this thing, hence the name Mod Saw, you can actually utilize that part of the saw as an arrow spinner. See how straight your arrows are, so that's pretty cool. And there we go, right about 50, just under. Basically what I'm going to do now is just try to knock out and clean some of the carbon. You can see it's pretty black, so we're going to try to clean that up as best we can. Helps with the glue for the outserts. Doesn't have to be perfect, but like that's much better. Don't want to do too much. I'm going to try to spin this on here and then press it against the table to seat it good. And we'll take some paper towel and just try to clean the excess glue. Set that one off the side, on to the next one. Alright, always sit and let those dry for a second. I know some people, instead of using like vein glue, they will use hot glue, so that way if you break something or want to change stuff up later on in the future, you can kind of take a heat gun, remove things. I'm trying to not change stuff up a bunch and at least rock, you know, for the time being, or the year at least, season, whatever you want to call it. Something that I know is at least working for me, and you know, thing that I've been practicing with forever. Now, because I'm using these Super Saver vanes, one thing they recommend is they have their little prime pens, and then they recommend that you wipe down the arrow real good. I was using AAE vanes last year, and I know with that you didn't really have to, even though it's still good practice to do so. I have had issues with vanes coming off in the past, but since I've been doing that, these vanes have taken a beating and been holding on pretty well. So before we get fletching the arrows, we're just going to take, they actually come with these little alcohol prep pads, so I'm just going to use this one pad, wipe everything down, and then we'll set it off to the side and we will start jigging these arrows. Is that the correct term, jigging the arrows? No, it's probably should be fletching the arrows, you know. Some of you out there probably enjoying this a little too much. Yeah, you can just see how much stuff came off of that. Alright, so now we got our little jig here. Of course, you can see the one different color is the cock vane. So as I mentioned before, I think I'm just going to do this with all of the arrows instead of having to build some separately. Is I'm going to do red there and then 2 whites. That way, because I hunt somewhere it snows, if for whatever reason I miss, I at least have something that will stick out in the snow. Which hopefully I don't, but you know, things happen. So with the primer pen, I'm just going to take this, run a little bead across all these, let them dry for a second. Now you can do where you put the glue in, then the arrow. I kind of like to stick the arrow in there. It's pretty nice because, I mean, obviously with the cock vane up, you can kind of orientate this, but it does have a little mechanism in there, so if you try to twist it, it's not going to go anywhere. Usually what I do is I kind of do like a tap drag motion. Kind of don't start at the exact bottom, but close to it, just because I know the glue will run down there a little bit. And if you want, you could just do where you run the end, smooth everything out. Gonna close that guy up, put the top on, spring lock, so that is in the down position there. And we're just gonna let that sit for a minute. And after we let that set for a little while, usually you only have to do this for, I don't know, a minute, and then just slowly peel everything back. And there we go. And it's as easy as rinse and repeat. And because it's been pretty humid here, I did want to kind of let this sit for a couple of minutes. Whenever I'm doing this, I always try to just let the fletchings like hang off of a table or something while they're drying, just so nothing interferes. Now while we're waiting for these to dry, I just wanted to, basically the only reason why I'm doing 4 right now is one, to obviously show you guys, but because in my quiver I only have 4 slots for arrows, and since I've gotten the bow back, because I'll be doing an out west hunt where my quiver will be on the bow at all times, I wanted to tune the bow with the quiver on. I want to shoot with a full quiver just to kind of get used to having all that weight and everything like that. So basically these 4 are going to, you know, I'll put my points on and everything like that, and they're going to be staying in the quiver until it's time to rock and roll. Now obviously when I'm whitetail hunting here in a tree stand, hopefully be in a saddle this year and just hanging it on the tree. One thing that's good to do too with these jigs is after you're using them, if you have some like alcohol wipes, just wipe down the arms, because I don't know if you guys can see this on camera, but they do get gunked up and that can interfere where your fletchings are kind of sitting a little bit like ahead of one another. One thing that's pretty cool about these Sevr broadheads is they have a spot that you can actually put a little screw there so the blades will not deploy. So essentially you can turn this into a practice broadhead, and then that way you can broadhead tune, stuff like that, but all you have to do is just get the little replacement bleeders instead of having to get different replacement blades. Pretty sweet. Really excited to try these out this year. So one thing that I like to do that kind of helps with the vane stick is I just put a very small little dab on each tip, and then I kind of make it nice and flush. All right, and then last but not least, the Piece de Resistance Sevr Titanium Broadhead. The last one gets a field point because I ran out of broadheads. Alright, now that we got that done, I can take all of my practice arrows out of my quiver and put them back in my belt quiver. Snow River Tech is coming up. Well, as you guys will be watching this, it will be that weekend. So this comes out on a Sunday like I planned to. That upcoming weekend will be Snow River Tech, and I'm pretty pumped for that. I feel like that'll be a good point for if I am ready or if I'm not ready for this upcoming elk hunt, which I'm super stoked for. Never hunted in Nevada. I've hunted elk plenty before, but never with a bow. I'm going to attempt to film it. My dad's going to be with me, so I'm going to be kind of showing him the ropes on how to film everything, because obviously I'm going to have a bow in my hand. If you guys enjoyed this little video, a thumbs up is always appreciated. Subscribe if you're into all different kinds of outdoor content. I'd be overlanding. Have been doing a ton of firearm stuff lately, but we are getting a lot more into filming hunting stuff. Got a pretty exciting season coming up. What are you guys shooting this year? Go ahead and leave your arrow builds down below. Hopefully this was helpful for you guys, and until then, we'll catch you in the next one.